Don't count out Casey Drake in that 87. He's right.
One more lap to go here at Indy. He ran him all the way from 3 seconds back. 2 laps to go. Oh, Alto gets done. Oh, Matthew gets the apron. Around goes Drexler. He spins right from the back. Huge wreck. The 2 flies up in the air. It's 3 wide. Oh, what a move by Derek. He wants to go.
Tries to send him up the hill, but can't quite do it.
Not between the 2 is 2 car lengths. Too little too late for Derek and Smith. Oh, clapping gets turned. Clapping gets turned. Oh my gosh. Side by side. 3 wide at the wire. Oh, we welcome everybody here live for tonight's race for the Sebring. 45 minutes of Sebring getting set for round number 3 out of 6 here down in Florida. And it should be a fun one here for tonight. Of course, NASCAR is going on right now, so we don't have a lot of people. But in the meantime, we should get a good race up and go. Even though there's 25 drivers here tonight.
Yeah, so Ezekiel's just gonna totally forget to do the intro for us. So
yeah, apologies.
He's Ezekiel Reyes. I'm Dewey Schramm. What's going on, guys? Glad you're here to watch this race. It's gonna be a good one. I've been excited about Sebring this entire season. It's one of the races I've actually been looking forward to the most for the iSCAR Summer Series, and we're finally here. And we're gonna be going green here shortly, as we're right near the track that is actually part of an airport and is right near one of the biggest freshwater lakes in the country. So pretty interesting area that this track is located in.
I forgot what the name of the airport here was. What I wouldn't be surprised if it was like something like Sebring International Airport or something like that. But
it's literally Sebring Regional Airport, yeah.
Ah, yeah, right. I wonder if it's still operating or it's forever a track now.
I believe some of the runways are still operational, but there is no passenger flights. It's all private and commercial traffic, I believe. And the lake, for those that aren't aware that we are near, it is Lake Okeechobee that this track is near. It's, I believe, the biggest freshwater lake in Florida and one of the largest in the whole country. So it's a big lake.
Interesting.
But not close enough where if you go off the track, you go flying into it. It's not like Lake Lloyd, so I guess there's that.
Take a look around the track right now and pull up standings on the left-hand side of the screen, seeing where everybody is sitting in this current practice session. As we said, there's not a lot of drivers here because of the current NASCAR race going on right now at Darlington. Brody Garner in the number 99 top in charts, last week's winner. Dan East is in 2nd place. Actually, did Dan win last week?
No, Dan did not win at Monza. Derek M. Smith won the DP class at Monza and overall. But it looks like despite only having 25 cars, it looks like all 3 classes are split about evenly. It looks like 9 for GT3 and then 8 apiece for GTE and DP. So we got almost an even split of cars for the field tonight, of course, depending on who may not end up starting the event, but should be a pretty good one out there. And we see Austin Osborne now in the 121 so far, topping the charts in GTE with about a minute and a half left of the practice session. So guys trying to get their last couple laps in before we head ourselves over to qualifying.
Yeah, for that 121, he did have a great showing at Monza. He wrecked in the first lap and then he had to go on the pit road very early. Didn't get a great finish there. I don't know where he finished overall, but didn't finish great in his class either due to that early spin. But here he is. He's fastest on the track right now. So excited to see what that 121 does.
Yes, Sebring, one of the more interesting road courses that these guys will go to. Of course, as we mentioned, part of the course incorporates a runway that is no longer used by the Sebring Regional Airport. It is the long Ullman Strait, that I believe is the runway portion. So you'll see some different track surfaces. Of course, runways I probably have different, concrete or asphalt, whichever it is,
Right.
than the rest of the course. So I'm not sure how much of an impact that could have, but potentially something these guys should keep in mind as the race goes on. You see the change right there in the color of the surface. So
Yeah. This track is
wrapping up,
very, very bumpy. The characteristics of this track, you gotta hit your marks or else you're gonna slip up a lot. And you see Harry right over the curbs. We mentioned him. He likes to drive the cars like a VA and ramp the cars off. But the checkered flag is waving on the old surface of Sebring. Interested to see on who's going to come up top. So we're going to slide ourselves to the side, play the national anthem, rise up, remove your hats as we salute our nation's colors. Welcome y'all back here live. Currently, qualifying is underway at the Sebring International Raceway, located in Florida. Got to get set for the not the second, but the third round of the iSCAR Sports Car Championship. Unfortunately, Matthew Alexander couldn't join into the booth, so hope to see him next week at, I think, Lime Rock. But we're planning to change that track once that week comes around, but still in the making and such.
yeah, stay tuned on that one.
Right.
Yeah, in real life, IMSA, the DP cars, or the real life equivalent of DP cars, do not run at Lime Rock, despite the GTE and GT3 cars running there. So I guess we're gonna keep along with that. So you'll know before next week starts, of course, where we're going, but that is a to be determined. But it'll be a good race wherever it is. That much I'll guarantee you.
Currently watching Joe Berge work himself around the racetrack. Very good on the number 70. Drivers working themselves there. I don't know where Harry is currently sitting. Oh, looks like he's in turn number 16 and onto the Ullman Straight. Long straightaway here, and he's sort of weaving in and out. I don't know if he clipped the grass and such, but this straightaway is very important. You can sniff off draft off the person in front of you and get a good run into turn number 17 right here, which is probably the bumpiest portion of the racetrack. So cars are definitely gonna easily slip up in that corner on Sunset Bend.
Yeah, I believe Sunset Bend is probably going to be one of the best passing zones that these guys are going to see tonight. As you just mentioned how bumpy it is, it'll be pretty easy for maybe someone to step out in the middle of the turn or maybe bump somebody going into the turn and do a little bump and run. So, of course, there's multiple passing zones that these guys will be able to utilize for themselves, but I think Sunset Bend may be the biggest one of them all.
Watching Sertaj Rahman work himself through. Not PVM colors. I know why, though. It's because I don't have trading paints up. Apologies about that. Let me go ahead and pull that up so his paint scheme could load up. I heard there's a caution in the Darlington race.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse again. So this seems to be a common theme this weekend. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're not at Darlington. They are. They're using Cup cars. We're not. We're using IMSA cars. So much more interesting. So Brandon Warwas leading the board right now. Good to see a relatively new name in terms of this series up near the top. So, as looks like Dan Neese has now leapfrogged him as I say that, but still a solid run or a solid lap for that 48 up to this point.
Yeah, number 48 at Brandon Warwas. Warwas on Iron Rock with a teammate of his running in a different class. You'll see some similar paint schemes being sported, of course, displaying on his team name being displayed on his car on the right side. I mean, excuse me, that's the left side. We'll go ahead and scroll around to his GTE partner of Austin Osborne. That person on his team, Cade. The original Iron Rock Motorsports 2 drivers were Brandon Warwas and Cade McKee, and Cade is also in a DP as well. He worked himself into one of the very important passing zones of, I think this is turn number 7, through the hairpin. That turn, especially another important passing zone through there, hard on the brakes into 7. I'm interested to see on how everybody will take the corner through the first laps.
See Brody Gardner in the 99 up into second place, right behind his teammate Dan Neese. It seems like, besides Daytona, where Christopher Weil scored the pole, those two have been first and second in either order. Now, for all 3 races we've seen so far this season, besides Chris at Daytona, both of these guys have been consistently fast in qualifying every race we've had, and for the most part, they've backed it up in the race as well. These guys must have a really, really good setup. Of course, they're teammates, so they're going to share it with each other, help each other out, but even compared to the other guys that are teammates in the DP class, these guys are like miles ahead of them.
Right, and Brody, of course, has a lot of IMSA experience. Dan showing his IMSA experience here, and it shows in points as well. Both Brody and Dan are the top 2 in the DP points. The order is not correct, but the class order is. So Menchu leads the GTE side of things, and Corey Charts leads the GT3 sides of things. And he's tied with Chris Nozowski, who's also logged in here tonight.
Yeah, so Menchu, despite being first in GTE, is 4th overall, including the DP guys. You see, he's ahead of Christopher Weil and Casey Drake, who we have up on the screen. And then you see Derek M. Smith with his class and overall win at Monza, only 1 point back of Dan Neese. So I think it's going to be a 3-horse race, I think, for this championship, as we are now, after tonight, we'll be halfway through the season.
Right. And go ahead and pull out point standings and show everybody sits in qualifying again. Everybody from 1st through 5th are all DP machines. 6th through 11th are all GTE, and 12th through 18th are all GT3s. Interesting note: Ryan Kwan in the number 28, the person who is fastest in the open practice session, as well as this practice session, is currently not on the racetrack right now. So
looks like 6 or 7 guys haven't logged the lap in yet. I wonder if, I'm not sure how many of those guys, I know Casey Drake is in a DP, but I'm not sure which class the other guys are in, so maybe some people deciding to start in the back, but I'm not sure about Casey, though. I don't know if he's just not going to start or what, but we'll
there he
see.
is. He's probably going to cross the start-finish line once time expires, so he could be not all the way to the rear, but toward those last qualifiers. Now he started inching to the start-finish line, but Hunter Johnson as well. He actually hasn't made himself on the racetrack, so Hunter.
At least he's here tonight. I don't think he showed up so far in this series.
Right, I was about to say, this might be Hunter Johnson's first ever start in the iSCAR IMSA series, so I'm interested to see on how Hunter's oval talent will transfer onto the road side of things.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, like you just said, he hasn't really run in this series before. I'm not sure how much road experience he has just running, regular races on the site or whatever, but we'll see how he does tonight as we are under a minute now remaining in qualifying.
So, the driver just screwed himself through the racetrack. That'd be the number 22, Christian Ozowski. Of course, he was tied. He won the Daytona race, first ever IMSA iSCAR race.
I believe he won last week as well. I think he's won the first two.
Actually, that was Corey Charts.
That's right. Corey Charts won last week. That's right. I believe he led at some point. Oh, that's not good.
Currently running in third, though.
At least he got his first lap down, but
right. Jackson Menchie, the person who's leading in the GTE field, qualified in last, so not a good look for him. But meantime, we're getting set to go green this time by for 45 minutes of racing. These drivers go ahead and line themselves up here as this is. Oh yeah, of course. I thought it was a standing restart. I got scared there for a moment.
We're not in the Skip Barber series, which you can watch here on MSTV tomorrow if you're interested. Not quite yet. We gotta wait another day. But congrats to Dan Neese, your overall pole sitter for tonight. 3.74 mile road course here at Sebring. And your starting lineup, actually Brody Gardner won the pole, so congrats to him. And his teammate Dan Neese, who I thought won the pole, will start alongside him in second.
Brendan Warwas, Cade McKee, two teammates going to start alongside of each other, third and fourth.
Derek M. Smith will start himself in fifth, third place in the DP standings, and in sixth place, the 88 of Nick Miller.
Miller is in I think a GTE. I'm not really sure, but this grid's going to be all sorts of screwed up because it goes by qualifying order. But in the meantime, Austin Osborne and Harry Grindle, those are their lap times, starting most likely 7th and 8th.
And 9th and 10th, we've got the 47 of Liam Sheen, who won the late model race the other night at Langley, and he was outside the 2 of Aaron Mulrooney, and you'll see the rest of the order scroll screen. Pick a driver somewhere in the field, one of these guys, hope they win, cheer for them, do whatever you want, but they're all there. See Corey H. Hart's tied for first in GT3 standings a bit farther back with Chris Nosowski. So some pretty talented drivers are going to be starting from the rear. Hunter Johnson not taking a time. And that looks to be mostly the whole field, so...
Yeah, we got...
a lot of guys didn't take time, I don't think.
Right. I think about 25, 26 drivers here in total about to get set for this green flag. And go ahead and show you a bit of track facts here on the bottom left side of your screen as these people start to get rolling off for pacing. 17 corners.
Somebody's messing around.
Yeah, 17 corners throughout this 3.7 mile racetrack. The banking is nothing. There's no banking throughout the racetrack, luckily. This track is fully flat. Location here in Sebring, Florida, in the United States of America. Air pressure is currently 29.585 Hg right now. Altitude, only 61 feet above sea level, and configuration is the international version. Yeah,
Florida overall is a very flat state, and this track's also flat, so flat track, flat state, it's pretty flat, and it's pretty warm because it's Florida. Nice place to go racing, and we're moments away from doing that. And our weather here for tonight in Sebring, Florida, track temperature of 78 degrees, so, and an air temperature of 77, so they're pretty much the same. Not a lot of rubber we put down early, they'll have to wait a while for that. 0% humidity, it's pretty dry to start off with. It's Florida, even though there's clear conditions, there's always the chance of a storm because, it's Florida. That stuff happens all the time, but winds coming out of the southeast about 10-ish miles per hour. Should stay like that most of the race. And we're getting ready here, and it looks like the DPs have already separated themselves a bit. But the GTPs have. We've seen this all 3 races so far. So...
Connor Brandon told me a story about he didn't separate himself too far. He only separated himself 3 seconds away from that GTE field. I mean, the DP field, and he ran into the backside of the DP field somehow because they were all wrecking and stuff around this DP area. So This time, everybody taking more of an, even though this is not Connor, here on track, everybody taking more of an evasive actions.
We saw something interesting happen at Monza last week. So all the GTE guys start way back from the DPs, but then Michael Bianchini, whether he intended to or not, decided to start from pit road. And so when he came off of pit road to start the race, he ended up as the leader in GT before he ended up spinning off track. But
right,
I don't know if there was any strategy employed by him then or not. But potentially someone could have taken note of that, and who knows? Maybe we'll see another GT pit road start here tonight.
Yeah, everybody except Hunter O. Johnson in the number 12 has gridded themselves out on the racetrack, so the only person who really jumped the field, I guess, is that number 12, but as they work themselves down the, I think this is turn number 15 they're coming up on, and turn number 16 now, a long 2.7, I mean, not 2.7, 3.7 mile pacing lap.
One of the longer courses on the schedule.
Right.
Sorry for cutting you off, but with that and Road America, you'll see tomorrow night in the Skippy is over 4 miles, so only 12 laps with the Skippy race. So we tend to race longer road courses here, and I see the GT field come on to turn 16. So a much longer pacing lap than most, as you said, and fortunately we only have one more turn separating us between drop of the green flag and pacing.
Alright, the pace car scoots itself onto pit road. Maybe Dan Neese might want to jump the restart, or I think it's Brody Gardner in the number 99 who's holding back from this corner in turn number 17. And as they round themselves around, the number 99 will go ahead and take it to the green. They're on the loud pedal now, and the 99 will take it to the green flag. Let's go racing at Sebring, and they're wrecking in the back!
No! Huge crash on the start! 2 or 3 cars involved already, and this is why the GTE guys started so far back, because they just avoided that entire thing.
Well, Rooney's around as well.
Actually goes around. So mayhem on the start here. I'm not sure which car that is. That might be Warwas or McKee. Cade McKee started 4th among the DPs, and his night might be over before it even starts. That's the first start wreck we've seen so far, I believe, this season.
Right.
But there were 2 or 3 DPs around, and the GT went around in the final corner as well. But somebody hit the tires really hard out of the final turn. We'll have to potentially take a look at that.
Oh, what in the world? That's Casey Drake.
That's not good at all. But
and Harry Grindle is also on pit road. But again, we'll go ahead and take a replay of what happened to the 27 Cade as he sort of jammed in with traffic right now. But yeah, that was very, very messy. I wouldn't say really messy, as you see all the cones go flying and such, but
well, messy for the cones, but
right.
These are the GTE cars, so Cade's already around up there.
Oh, just got loose.
Oh, just lost it, and there you see the huge hit in the tires.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know either, and then you see that other car end up hitting Cade, and now somebody else has gone off.
That's Cade, and looks like he's just going to tow it.
What a hectic start for...
And that was Derek M. Smith, the person you ran into, so... You see all that damage on that 66. I'm pretty sure that's a meatball flag.
And Derek's tied, and Derek is currently 3rd in overall points. So that's going to be a huge hit for him in the points if he ends up with a lot of required repairs.
Yeah, that thing is crabbing on the straightaway. There's just no way.
Yeah, that's going to be a big hit for him in the points. Knocks a cone out of the way.
Yeah, he has to go into pit road, get that repaired, get yourself on track.
Yeah, so Derek's going to definitely have to be on his A game next week and for the rest of the season, because this is going to be a big hit for him in the points, depending on how many spots he ends up losing due to his repairs. But yeah, this is a very different start of the race than we've seen at Daytona or Monza. We were relatively clean for a couple laps before we saw our first big incident on either, but they wasted no time, I guess, tonight. So
yeah,
Brody and Dan still relatively close together, within about a second of each other. Not sure who the 3rd car is. That might be Warwas.
Yep.
You see Menchu already in front in the GT class after qualifying, I believe, 7th. So he's leading the GT points, and he's already off to a good start here tonight. So he might be able to just pad that points lead, as I believe he's up by 11 or 12 on Harry, and he's already on pit road.
Aaron Mulrooney is dropping back a bit after that spin on the first lap. He's trying to work himself around a couple of GT3 guys, and Chris Nozowski has taken it to the top, and Chase Bonser, his own teammate at number 22, looks to be by himself here for this one. But the person who started up top, Corey H. Hart, you see him right there in that number 57. Looks like he's fallen back to where he started.
Yeah, it looks like the field has calmed down just a bit after that pretty hectic start. As you see, Brody still pacing the field in his Blue Chew machine, with his teammate Dan closing the gap a little bit. As like we said in the pre-race, these guys have been the class of the field these first 2 races, and they're already off to doing it again. But Brandon trying to stay within their reach, and he's within reach still right now. So Brandon potentially could try and break his way into this end party. That's already 5 or 6 cars on pit road, and there go some of them.
Yeah, all these, there's like 4 or 5 DPs already on pit road. We're only left with 3 DPs out on the racetrack right now. There's Brody and Dan and Brandon. So, of course.
And they're all that close.
Right.
I believe Derek's still getting required repairs. I don't think
it looks like Derek's gone. He was one of the cars that disappeared.
Yeah, Andy McDowell, another DP on pit road. Brandon Sampson as well. So, yeah. So it looks like those 3 DPs that are within a couple seconds of each other, all we got left for that class. So yeah, it's with how small of a field this is, that's gonna be down to those 3 now for probably the overall win still as well, though, because they're how fast they are anyway.
Right.
But still interesting.
Yep, definitely. We're watching this battle here for the top spot on the GTE side, and Nick Miller and Jackson Menchu, the 2 to duke it out. Miller has got a great didn't start at Monza. His friend actually registered him as a GT3. But Miller currently running in 2nd position as he scoots himself through, and you see the lights are really beaming on that car. It's most likely going to be a night race as he worked himself right up the corner. Might get a bit off track right there. He works himself to the
close call.
I think it's the Ullman Straight. Right.
Yeah, so the Ullman Straight, definitely a big opportunity to draft up to the car in front of you going into the big passing zone we were talking about earlier. So
yeah, this is turn 17.
Yeah, maybe next lap Nick could potentially set something up to maybe get by Menchu. Maybe into that turn.
Yeah, they're the only 2 people that are gone, and the person who started on top, who was actually fastest in the GTE side of things, Austin Osborne, we've seen him pull out a bit of strategy. Of course, he stayed himself out longer than the rest of the GTE field. He ended up jumping himself to the top momentarily, and before he got ran over by Noah Allison in the DP side of things. We see Liam Sheen there in the number 47. He works himself there at the racetrack. Joe Berge, you see him as well in here, and the number 2 of Aaron Mulrooney. Unfortunately, with that big spin on the first lap, number 2, I don't think he's going to gain any positions of where he's sitting, but currently he's sitting 9th overall, so he's going to get a lot of points sitting there.
I mean, it is kind of crazy because with the only about 24, 25 cars to even start the race, and with this many of them already on pit road, I mean, you could pretty much almost coast it to the end, even just 8 minutes in. And as long as you don't make too big of a mistake, you should probably get a decent finish, no matter what class you're in. I mean, even if you're like Josh Patterson and Colton Lights, even if you're 5th and 6th in GT3, you're still within reaching distance of other people. So if guys end up having other problems in front of you, even if you're that far back, you're definitely not out of it in terms of points day.
Definitely, but these points get scored by overall position rather than by class. So just because you're first in GTE, doesn't mean you're getting as much points, as first in DP. So, Menchie runs 4th overall, so I'm pretty sure he's going to get a solid amount of points sitting there. But, of course, Brandon, Brody, and Dan are going to get more points than that. So, for Cade, even though he's running in 4th place, he's sitting 17th overall right now. He needs to go ahead and unlap all these GT3 and GTE drivers to put himself in 4th position overall. Maybe get himself a nice solid points day.
Well, we're not even sure if he has the engine power to be able to do that now he's actually going to pit again.
Right.
Of course, he may have ended up with engine damage from that lap 1 incident or coming to the start, so... But now that he's pitting, this is going to become a lot more difficult, so... I'm not sure what he's pitting for, but it's just a bad night gone worse, I guess.
Right, and Dan, in the meantime, is actually stolen away from his own teammate. That number 99, a Brody Gardner. And
down the big straight, though, as Brody could draft up to him here up into the Sunset Bend. Looks like he gained a little bit. But these guys are teammates, so I wouldn't think they'd race each other too hard, maybe until the very end. As these guys are so far ahead of the rest of the field, they could just try and work together and get themselves so far ahead where they can duke it out themselves later on, maybe with about 5 minutes to go in the race.
Yeah, of course, these two are teammates, work with each other and get themselves situated and ahead. That number 48 of Brandon Warwasp. But in the meantime, we watched this battle for what was the lead. Has now separated itself by, it looks like, 2 seconds between the number 9 and the number 88 of Nick Miller. South into the final corner, turn number 17. There in the distance as well. Austin Osborne in the 121. I don't know how fast he's going. Go ahead and pull up this is compared to what the DP times are actually. So we'll go ahead and cut that out. But last time by Jackson Menchie hit a 159, and Austin start finish line looks like a 159.7.
Yeah, as long as you can be consistent, you should do okay. As you see, his lap time's pretty even between his best and that most recent one. So Austin could definitely pounce at some point, though. I mean, if Nick could potentially gain on Menchie and make that a battle up front, Austin could, if they wreck each other or get each other out of shape, Austin could potentially pounce on that. He's only about 9 seconds back, so a spin by either one of those top two could definitely put him in a winning position, at least in this class.
Right.
So as long as he hits his marks, as long as really anybody hits their marks in their respective classes, I think they still have a chance with all the people already in trouble.
We're watching Dan Neese and Brody Gardner working themselves through, currently sitting 1 and 2 within a second of each other. Across the start-finish line on, like this, their 7th lap on the board. Scheduled to take at least 24 laps around estimated. For these DPs, of course, the GTEs and GT3s are a bit slower. They might take upwards of, looks like, only 22 or maybe 23. I'm not really sure, but meantime, Miller has definitely lost sight of that number 9 of Jackson Menchie. So Menchie slowly starting to pull away, but again, sitting by yourself, honestly, is a weird feeling, especially when you're running at night.
It's almost like hot lapping.
Right. I just noticed the interior of the car. That's actually pretty sick how it's all lit up in purple and such. I didn't notice that at first, but on board with Menchie as he works some stuff down into turn number 1.
And this is something interesting that while we are on board, that's very different from your regular stock car. As regular stock cars only go up to 4th gear, but you see in these cars they have a 5th and a 6th gear that they have to shift up into. So on top of, a regular challenge of shifting on road course, they've got 2 more gears they've got to work with and race around compared to a stock car that most of these guys in the field are probably used to seeing here in iSCAR.
Right, and it varies from car to car as well. I mean, you still run 6 gears through all vehicles, but by means of varying car to car, the cockpit we'll get an onboard of this. This is the interior of the BMW. And this is Nick Miller, who's currently running in second place. You see right there how different the dashboard is, and all the lights and such flickering on the racetrack. Of course, signaling rev limiter as he works himself through second, third, might come up into fourth. Looks like this is turn number 13 he just came up on. Got a bit loose
Nice
there.
save. Yeah, he almost looped it around right there. That was a good car control right there. We should get an onboard with Dan or Brody. Yeah, you see right there the DP dashboard, much different than those GT guys. It's right there. We only see the rev limiter, so there it is. It's a much different look for the DPs, at least in the interior as well. So they all have 6 gears, as you said, but of course, just regularly racing, you're gonna end up with a much different racing experience.
Right. Austin Osborne, he too. Look how close he's up to the wheel, but that's just my POV since I run triples. But this is, I think, a Porsche.
That gear is actually on the wheel, so
right,
versus being on the dashboard, yeah.
This is all relatively new to us as well. I didn't really get an in-depth look of how each cockpit looks, but this is on board with Austin Osborne as he works himself through, looks like this is turn number 1, coming up on turn number 2 right now. I like how the interior is also lit up in purple. Pretty sick.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Skip Barbers look tomorrow night, as I don't think we've gotten a close-up of those in any of our broadcasts either, but of course that's another story for another day, and that day is tomorrow. But here we're on board with Liam Sheen in the 47, who won the most recent iSCAR event, the late model race at Langley, which was his first career iSCAR win, so another congrats to him on that achievement. We're currently running 4th in the GTE, so pretty solid day overall, despite being about 16 seconds back. So he can pretty much just run his own race now at this point.
As we're about 15 minutes. Looks like a Ford GT, the 2017 Ford GT. So I'll get it on board of him. He too has his gauges and rev limiters and everything else displayed on the wheel itself, and you see all the buttons around that they use. That you can set up in the black box on iRacing, but yeah, another different kind of setup here on the GTE side of things.
Just a fun fact, if you see that yellow button on the top left of his wheel, that automatically throws a caution out if you hit that. So that could potentially come in handy if he wants to catch back up to his...
Joe Bergey's around.
That's Bergey. That's a hard hit into the tires. And that's going to be a tow, at least for him. And now he might be done for the night.
That sucks.
So we'll have to take a look and see what happened with that 83. And he just curb hopped it and right into the tires. So another casualty here tonight at Sebring. Another one bites the dust as Joe Bergey has retired from the race. And the 2 DPs of Nice and Gardner have pretty much left Warwasp behind, as Warwasp was within 2 or 3 seconds of these guys for the first couple laps, but they've started to really put some distance between themselves and that 48 as time's gone on, as we're just over a third of the way through this event now tonight.
Yeah, they were lapping around the number 02 of Josh Patterson, who actually got in the racing line there. Looked a bit weird because of how far he out-tracked that corner. That's not an out-of-bounds zone on turn number 16. You could out-track it as far as you need to get a good entrance in there. Once they come around for another lap, you'll see on how differently they enter in that corner. But in the meantime, we're watching this top 2, Dan Neese and Brody Gardner, go hand in hand here. Getting on board of Josh Patterson. We didn't get an onboard of how it looks in his cockpit too, and this is a GTE car, and it's way different. This is the Audi that we're on board right now. All sorts of buttons listed on the wheel, and see the gauges on the little screen that is shown in. He works himself through, actually letting one of those faster cars by. That's a DP. I think it's Cade McGee. Brandon Warwas.
Yeah, I think that's Warwas.
Right, it is.
Yeah, still sitting third in the DPs. I believe the last DP still on the track. So even if he doesn't necessarily get by either of those Blue Chew machines, Warwas should still not. Somebody's blinking really bad,
That's the leader, Chris Nozowski. Does drop third. That's gonna be horrible.
Yeah, either way though, point wise, Warwas should still have a pretty solid day here tonight, even if he doesn't get past either of those Blue Chew cars.
Right.
So he can pretty much just run a race of his own because now that the next DP behind him is teammate Cade McKee, 6 laps down. So Brandon, in all likelihood, won't even lose any spots either. So he might be the car with the least amount of pressure in the entire field right now in terms of just running his own race. And there you see Corey H. Hart's letting that 161 by. Corey currently second in the GT3 field and tied for first in GT3 points. So good start to his season as he lets the 2 faster cars go by.
Hey, Nozowski, here he is in number 22, getting himself through the first couple of corners. I think it's 3, 4, and 5. Now, coming on to turn number 6. You see Corey H. Hart's right behind him. Looks like he's 5 seconds back of where he is running. So, Sertage, also a PPM machine.
So, honestly, a sneaky good night for him so far. Third in class right now. Of course, not maybe necessarily that high in the overall order, but could be a decent points day in terms of the GT3 standing. So we haven't really talked much about him so far tonight, but I'm sure he won't be the only one that has a sneaky good run like that.
Definitely. He's 6 of... that was Brandon Warwas. I mean, excuse me, not number 36, number 48 of Brandon Warwas worked himself around. Josh, who's third. Of course, we scroll back all the way to Josh Patterson. He's currently running, looks like 9 seconds back of where Chris Nozowski is. The only Audi in the field for O2 of Patterson. Also see Quan here, the person who was fastest in practice. Looks like not really getting his stride right now. Number 28, way far off where everybody else is. I mean, where that number 22, Chris Nozowski is. Looks like Nozowski really has this nailed down, but this is the corner I was talking about. Watch how far some of these drivers can out-track it into the corner. Looks like Quan doesn't want to tinker around with that, I guess, void of the racetrack into turn, I think that's turn number 16.
Ryan did have a pretty good weekend, though. He was the winner of the Super Speedway Series race at Talladega with the trucks, so I think he might have hit the inside wall there a little bit, actually. But either way, a pretty good weekend overall with scoring another iSCAR win, so a little bit of momentum coming into tonight, but looks to not be translating that much, I guess.
Not a lot of drivers currently out on the racetrack. Looks like we've only has 17 drivers on the racetrack as of right now. It wouldn't hurt to get like an in-depth analysis of how all these drivers are running and how their iSCAR stats line up. Of course, Brody Gardner picking up his first ever iSCAR win last week at Monza. Dan Neese in the 161, unfortunately, is about to come up short yet again. Looks like 3 weeks in a row. But unless Brody makes a mistake, looks like he's about to secure one, but still 2 seconds between those two teammates.
Well, no matter where Dan finishes in this top 3, I'm sure he will give us a blessed interview, so that is still something I'm looking forward to post-race, is what Dan will have to say about his race, but I wouldn't count him out just yet. I mean, these two teammates have, again, been the class of the field so far. Even though Brody's currently got the edge, I would not count Dan out at all until that checkered flag drops.
Right. And if the two teammates collide, the number 48 of Brandon Warwas, he could go ahead and pounce.
About 10 seconds back, within reaching distance, if that were to happen. If he loses any more time, they could potentially still recover if they spin, but as they stand right now, I believe he would be able to get by those guys if something were to happen. See one car down pit road. I'm not sure if that's a scheduled or not, but
Yeah, it looks like it's Dan Neese down on pit road, so a scheduled stop for that 161 as he scoots himself on in. Pretty sure it's just going to
a couple
be a
more.
fuel-only stop for that 161, of course. These tires last long because they are endurance machines. And on a pit road, that one go, and he's being followed in by a lot of, looks like, other class cars.
I think that's Warwasp behind him, actually. I believe
Looks like
that's, or one of the DPs is right behind Dan. But that's a 15-second pit. Oh, that's Cade, but 15-second pit stop. I wonder if he took tires or not.
no, that's
Unless
fuel
it
only.
really takes that long to fuel these cars.
Yep.
Wow. All right. I did not know that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, literally in regular NASCAR race or even a regular iSCAR stock car race, you could really fuel that thing in like 5-6 seconds. I
Not only
did
that,
not
you could
realize
also
it took
take
that
on
long.
tires within that 20-second window, but it takes longer to take on tires. Hence why people decide to go with on fuel only. Of course, these things are endurance machines. They're meant to go for long distances, hence why it wouldn't hurt just to take a fuel only, even for like a 1-hour race. But if it were to be like a 2-hour race, I'd expect some drivers to come in for fuel. As you see one car go way off track.
I think hopefully they were just letting them by.
Right.
I thought they just went right into the tires. But yeah, I guess there's always a chance to learn something new. So something good about watching iSCAR races, I guess.
Darius Zadgar currently sitting 15th overall, 6th in his class. Excuse me, it's now 7th. As Josh Patterson, oh no, looks like he just disappeared from the leaderboard there for a moment, but he is yet to pit though. Everybody else has at least slid themselves onto pit road. Speaking of pit road, the number 2 Mulrooney is also in. Looks like the DP, the other 2 DPs,
Brody
Gardner and Vernon Warwas, they're also in.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what Brody's pit time is compared to Dan's, and if Dan might be able to get this lead back. But, I mean, Dan, it looks like Brody's stop was actually faster than Dan's was by a couple seconds.
Yeah, but Brody is there. Can he go ahead and stuff around his own teammate?
He's going to make it.
A no. So
wow.
Brody will retain his lead with a 13.4 second pit stop compared to a 15.7.
So he'll gain some time on the track as well from that, yeah.
Right.
Looks like about a 4-second gap now, and that was about 2. Brandon with a 31-second lap. I don't know if he took tires or if
he probably took tires. Because I saw the front end of his car was lifted up. I think Brandon, I guess he had nothing for Brody and Dan.
So I mean, it can't hurt.
Right. That's right.
He can't lose any spots in terms of his class, so you might as well go for it at this point. Do anything you can. But hey, got 20 minutes left of the race. Might as well see what happens.
Nick Miller on pit road for a scheduled stop. Again, fuel only for that number 88, unless he wants to take tires. But you saw the difference of how long Brandon's stop was versus Dan and Brody's. It's a solid plus 20 seconds just to take on tires. So that's why most people usually go with fuel only if it is a one-stop race.
Yeah, and it's something interesting to note because in a regular NASCAR race, you might be able to even put on 2 new tires in the time it takes to fuel up a car, but here it'll pretty much double your pit time. So definitely something that these guys that are mostly used to stock cars have to keep in mind. If do you really need tires, or do you want to roll the dice and shoot the crap? I guess if you're someone like Warwas, who's pretty much got nothing to lose.
Yeah, definitely. I think how they do pit stops in IMSA is they fuel separately than what they do is they first inject fuel, and after that, after they do fuel, they take on tires. So fuel and tires are basically separate. I think that's just because of a safety hazard or how many people they're allowed over the wall. Because I think there's only like 1 jack or 2 jacks. Well, that's pretty standard for most pit stops, but I know it's way different on the IMSA side. On how pit stops go, but in the meantime, We're still yet to see a couple of drivers hit pit road. Jackson Menchu still out on the racetrack. Most likely he might slide himself on in, and did he look how slow he is coming onto pit road. He might lose a lot of time being that slow on entry. But here we go. Austin Osborne is gonna elect to stay out for this lap. He'll go ahead and put himself to the top spot, and now Menchu, of course, doing his scheduled stop. Pretty sure it's going to be fuel only for him as well.
Yeah, Menchu currently leading GTE points.
That's a longer stop.
He might be one of those guys taking tires, and he almost drifts out of his pit stall.
There's Miller.
But here's another one. He might end up losing a spot to Nick here.
I think he took on too much fuel, and there goes Miller.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think Menchu accidentally took on too much fuel, and he lost the spot to Miller. And with Austin having to pit at least one more time, I'm pretty sure Miller might be in the lead.
That might have just won him the class, yeah. That could have been a race-winning strategy right there for Nick, taking a little bit less fuel than Jackson did. I mean, Jackson will probably still have a really solid points day in terms of his class, but he might have just given some valuable points up right there in terms of the overall standings, as he currently sits 4th overall in this field, point-wise.
He still has some time. He has 15 minutes to go ahead and pass out. What am I saying? Pass around that number 88 of Miller. But Miller has to be on his marks because Menchu is definitely the faster car. To see on how that goes, but in the meantime, for this overall lead, Brody Garner and Dan Neese still rounding themselves out 1 and 2. We haven't talked about Nozowski as well as Corey H. Hartz. Nozowski looks like he got a long stop, 19 seconds, but even though Corey had a faster pit stop than him, Nozowski is still out ahead. So looks like the only fight on track is really for this GTE win.
Yeah, it's honestly one of the more spread out fields we've had between the 3 races, of course, aided by that initial incident coming to this green flag where Cade and Derek ended up around. I'm sure if that didn't happen, at least the DP field would be a lot more competitive than what it is. But even despite that, with all these guys as spread out as they are, probably one of the least competitive races, I guess, in terms of battles of the 3 so far.
Oh, I thought that faster pit stop by Austin would gain him the lead, but unfortunately it didn't, and Menchu might have slipped up. He's around!
Oh, no! That's a costly mistake for that 9, as that may have just cost him a spot at the class win, as he's going to lose quite some time to that 88. And even the 121 of Osborne.
And speaking of, he just took the lead over Nick Miller, so Austin Osborne to the GTE lead. And
Nick
Miller
might
looks
have
like
had a mistake as well then.
Yeah, he might have slipped up.
I believe that's the 3rd car there is Menchu, so these guys are actually a bit closer together than I thought.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, Nick is not far back at all, and Jackson's even not that far back, so this could potentially develop itself into a nice battle for the win in the GTE class.
Yeah, there's still 13 minutes remaining. Anything could happen. Of course, lap traffic getting in the way. The slower GT3 cars could get in the way. DPs could also play a factor into this on how it'll go.
Yeah, so DPs, one of the 3 DPs potentially trying to get out or get through could cause one of the GTEs to have to move out of the way, and if they move out of the way, that that could lose them time
to fall
behind them. Yeah. We got just under 13 minutes to figure out what'll happen, and I'm looking forward to it, as I think Menchu's catching Nick a little bit, as Menchu's under 4 seconds back, so relatively speaking, these 3 are under a blanket here. You see some light flashing. That's
Harry Crandall just putting himself off the track.
I think it might have just blown up a little bit, though. There's a lot of smoke coming out.
It's just dust.
Oh,
the track's just that dirty.
Yeah, Harry came in 2nd in points in his class. I believe he's a GTE, I think?
Right.
Yeah, GT. He came in 2nd in points tonight, so not a good day for him. He'll have to rebound, hopefully, next week at to be determined. See if he can get himself back into that points chase. Or points race.
Takes about 2 minutes per lap, and Menchu's off! I'm pretty sure Menchu's inconsistency might have cost him the race.
Luckily, he held on to it, though.
Right.
I mean, if he had looped it around, he really would have had a problem, but Menchu's barely holding on at this point. As see some light flashing back there. I believe Nick is around the same distance back of Osborne as he was before. And it looks like Menchu's interval didn't actually change that much. I think he had gained a little bit and just went back to where he was a lap or two ago. So Menchu, I believe, could be the faster car on track. He just has to make sure he keeps the car on the track.
Right. The last lap that Menchu hit was a 158.8. Nick Miller hit a 158.9. While Austin Osborne actually was the slower car on the racetrack. He hit a 159.1. So maybe Miller has something up his sleeve and could go ahead and
look at Brody right there.
And here comes Brody. Yeah, that's right.
So this could present a challenge, as they're going to have to potentially move out of Brody's way. So this could play into what ends up happening with this GTE race, is these guys are going to have to make sure they don't lose too much time while also not holding off and potentially aggravating Brody.
Oh, they caught him on the straightaway, so Brody is going to go ahead and easily whip by Miller. But
caught him at a good time.
Yeah, will Brody catch Austin on a turn in which Austin has to move to the outside? Maybe actually veer off track. Well, I'll have to see.
Yeah, you see Brody with almost a 4-second lead on Dan Neese, so I think Brody might have this locked up, barring anything crazy happening, as in that cycle of pit stops, Brody's faster stop, I guess, proved to be the difference here tonight. As see Brody flashing the lights on Austin.
Looks like
so
Austin,
here we go.
He doesn't want to give up the position, but he's definitely faster than that, that 121. I mean, of course, he's on a DP.
This is going to help Dan Neese a little bit, too, as well. The longer Brody stays behind him, as now he goes around, that's probably going to give Dan a couple tenths back towards his teammate. Maybe not enough to get to him, but just close that gap just a little bit. As the gap between Miller and Osborne looks like it didn't really change much at all. Still about 1.82-ish seconds. I think that's Dan flashing the lights.
That's actually Miller flashing on the lights.
Oh,
that's Dan!
Oh!
Dan got held up by Miller as Dan not letting go of that number 88. He scoots himself to the inside, and that is gonna lose Miller some time.
Yeah, Miller got a little out of shape right there trying to stay up high, so that will be in the favor of Menchu, who I believe was that last car in frame, and it is. So, I mean, Osborne may have the win locked up, but I don't think this battle for second necessarily is over yet either. Menchu may have something for Nick before this is over.
Yeah, Menchu's been off track for a couple of times. I don't know how many times he's been off track. Looks like a 4X on his machine, so been off track 4 times. And of course, there's Austin, and here comes the DP, Dan Neese. He's gonna work himself. Oh, Dan gonna elect the high side.
Power move. And he made it work. He's gonna get him out of the turn here.
Oh, there's a wreck in front of Austin. He had to dodge it. Oh my gosh, that was...
Wow.
I cannot believe he dodged that.
Was.
Looks like that was Josh Patterson. He's still trying to get going.
Whoa, jeez. There's somebody else in the back had to miss him as well. That was a close call for everybody involved.
Right, and oh my gosh. That might have been...
My heart just dropped a little bit right there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Patterson. Oh, looks like he got off track, right up off, and
Brody hit him.
That's Brody.
So that's gonna put Dan back into the class lead.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
That's huge in points.
Wow.
That is huge for the point standings, as Brody caught Josh at the absolute worst place you could catch him on track.
But he's still within grasp of Dan, but of course that damage is definitely going to play an effect, but Dan has regained the lead.
Unfortunately, that barring anything crazy has become a reality, as now Brody is in the second spot after dominating this race, and Dan Neese may have just been gift-wrapped the overall win here tonight.
Oh, Austin has actually fallen to 3rd place. What happened to Austin?
Wow, we got a lot of shuffling going on. We thought this may have been locked up, but now we got position changes everywhere.
Yeah, what might have been Austin's race has now just turned into, I don't even know whose race now.
Race. I mean, Menchu's now 4 seconds back of Nick, so this might be.
Oh,
wow!
Austin lost it. He lost it in the lead, and oh, Miller just squeaked himself by. So Austin falls to 3rd.
There's Menchu.
There's Menchu, right?
About 4 seconds back of Nick. So this might be Nick Miller's race now for the GTE classes. Everything just got shuffled all over the place. The only thing that's really been consistent now in this last lap or two has been Chris Nosowski on top of the GT3 board, but boy, have we just had a shake-up at the top. As this could be big in the points as well, overall and within class, pertaining to the championship.
Miller's going to finish 4th overall. That's going to gain him so many points because there's only three DPs that are left.
And Warwas is almost a minute back at Dan, so...
Right. So we'll see if Menchu could go ahead and capitalize, might make something happen, but
yeah, Menchu still may end up being 5th, 6th, or 7th overall, so I'm sure Menchu would have obviously preferred to win his class, but this may not end up being as bad of a night as it may seem, as long as he can hit his marks the rest of the way and hope that Nick may make a mistake later on. I mean, with what we've just seen in the last 2 or 3 laps, anything's possible at this point. I don't think Nick's got this wrapped up quite yet.
Right, and there's still there's still 5 minutes remaining in this race, and Brody, there he is. He's now 3 seconds behind Dan. Fortunately, as you see, I think it's Colton Lights working himself off track to let the DPs go. But yeah, Miller is suddenly in a really, really good spot, and Austin Osborne trying to find himself around the 70 of Grindle, who's not letting him go. Grindle, of course,
I don't know what Harry's doing. This could be some contact right here. I'm not sure why Harry would come up like that, but
he's not
I'm
flickering
sure
his lights either. I don't think he's signaling that he's trying to pass him. He wants to race him.
I don't know why. Harry's 7 laps down. I'm not sure what Austin will be gaining here by doing that, but yeah, that's interesting.
Side by side.
Austin's going to look high here into Sunset Bend, which is a dangerous thing to do depending on if the guy you're trying to pass washes up or not, but it looks like Austin will be able to make that pass here coming down to the line. Actually, it's going to be side by side.
And she might have slipped up the corner, honestly. He's suddenly 7 seconds back of where Miller is now. Miller,
yeah, Austin might get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Austin could make this a battle for second right here. Austin's definitely gaining on Menchu's much slower.
Harry's just screwing around with Austin, trying to force him into a mistake, maybe. But yeah, this battle for second's on as Menchu might have slipped up.
Yeah, Miller's up and away now. Looks like 6, 7, yeah, about 7 seconds. But again, of course, nothing is guaranteed yet. There are still about 3-ish minutes left. So even though Nick's got that big lead now, definitely could lose it, as we saw Brody in all likelihood lose the DP lead.
Alright, that's very unfortunate. Of course, Brody won last week. His teammates sort of going to get gifted that win.
I mean, I guess if you're Brody, if there's anybody you'd rather win than yourself, I guess it'd be your teammate.
Right.
So I guess if there's any silver lining for this, it's that. But I'm sure Brody still would have preferred to win again, as he ended up wrecked, and it was really no fault of his own.
Goes through as Menchu and Osborne go at it. That's really a slower car. I think that's Colton Lights just moving himself out of the way. Come up on him as Colton down low. Yeah, these races are starting to get secure in all 3 classes as Dan finds himself around the Third position, I think that's Sertage, who's had a quiet day, of course.
Not that bad of a day, honestly. I mean, since he's in GT3, not that high up overall, but in terms of his class, a podium finish is not bad at all.
Right.
Especially for somebody we haven't really mentioned all night for the most part.
Right, sitting 10th overall, honestly. That's fair. That's really high for GT3.
Even though that's only out of 25 cars. Of course,
right.
we had, over 50 at Daytona and almost 40 last week at Monza, but 10th overall for a GT is pretty good no matter how many people are in the field. So, yeah, pretty solid, quiet day for Sartaj and the other guys in the GT3 field. I mean, where Chris is in the GT3 lead, I'm not sure where he is overall, but at least, he's
8th overall, so that's honestly really, really high. You'd usually see about at least 10, 15 people in a GT3 field that would be finishing the race, but of course, we've eliminated over half of the field here tonight as we're coming up on the minute to go mark. The white flag is probably going to wave. This might be the white flag as...
or coming to the white flag, yeah.
Yeah, we might be coming to the white flag right now. Because once time expires, the lap they're on will be the white flag. It's not the next lap will be the white flag. So Brody will cross the start-finish line, I think with still time on the clock.
Well, yeah, Brody's about just over 5 seconds back of his teammate Dan, so I think Dan may have this one in the bag, but this battle for second in GTE is what we're going to be watching here. Is I think Osborne just got by Menchu. Menchu slipped up once again, and that's another couple points that just slipped out of Jackson's hands as Osborne now back up to second place in class. So these two and Nick Miller have flip-flopped a lot in these last couple laps, and that's going to work out, looks like, in Nick's and Austin's favor.
Right. All right, here we go. Time expires right now. White flag as time by.
As I think Dan already...
he's 5 seconds ahead.
Yeah, Dan already took it.
Right. Again, the lap that they're on when the time expires will be the white flag lap.
So all the marbles are on the table now. Anybody that wants to try and make a move or push has to push now, as time is pretty much running out for anybody to really make anything happen. And I think the only...
probably going to cross the start-finish line first in his class because...
yeah, he's really far ahead. Almost 12 seconds up on... Over 12 seconds now on Corey H. Hart's, which for the GT3 points battle is big because those two came in tonight tied for the GT3 points lead. So Chris is definitely going to come out of here with a points advantage in class.
There's Nozowski as he moves himself down the straightaway for the final time. Into turn number 17 he goes. A 13-second gap over Corey H. Hartz will gain him a win, and in his second time, he's going to visit victory lane. This time not at Daytona, but at Sebring. Checkered flag from Chris Nozowski, and he wins it here at Sebring in the GT3 side. But we'll go ahead and watch in, and right behind him, the 161 at Dan Neese. He's going to come up the overall winner here tonight at Sebring.
Honestly, Dan could have won all 3 races this season, but some stuff ended up happening.
Miller's off track.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he probably slipped up the corner, but luckily, man, if he slipped up the corner maybe a couple laps prior, Austin could have definitely gained up, and you see the gap is closing up to 1.8 seconds. Now
Nick's holding for dear life here.
Yeah, he has to hold on for one more corner.
I think Nick's got it, but just one more corner to navigate. Actually, no, he's gotten through the corner. Nick Miller, your GTE winner tonight. Congratulations to him as he barely held off. As that was a that was a really good GTE battle. I think the GTEs was definitely the best action here tonight. Congratulations to all 3 of the winners, all greatly deserving it, and all doing a really good job here tonight. So, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, definitely. That was all interesting, of course, as we're still seeing some drivers cross the start-finish line and sum up their race. We can't really pull up results because it goes by overall. So, in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get this all situated, and we'll be right back right after this. Stay tuned, there's more to come for the iSCAR Sports Car Championship 45 minutes of Sebring have expired. We've crowned our winners here tonight. Welcome back here live for tonight. After 45 minutes of Sebring, we'll go ahead and slide into our winners here for tonight. Dan Neese, Nick Miller, Chris Nozowski. We'll go ahead and order on the left-hand side of the screen, but in victory lane for the first time ever, that number 161, Dan Neese. Hey, bud, you got a copy?
Yo, what's up?
What's up, man? Well, I know your teammate flew into a GT3 there. Were you expecting to get a win here, especially during those closing minutes?
I mean, with this kind of track, it's unpredictable. So, stuff happens, especially when you've got, crazy ass GT drivers. So, I mean, it happens. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it in some points, but in other points, I was like, bro, I could tell Brody was trying to drive real hard because he was knowing I was coming after that movie made on me early on. So
it is what it is, and you come out up top, man. Congratulations, your first ever iSCAR win here tonight, and of course your teammate coming in second. Luckily, you two are definitely going to be the top two, working in points for these next three races. So how does it feel? Topping overall in standings right now?
I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm all down for the fucking iSCAR Anchala, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that shit's sick as fuck, So, shout out to that, shout out to Zeke for running this. It's really cool to be able to come in here and drive IMSA in like a league setting. He's got a pretty good track pick, except for Lime Rock next week. That's going to be a shit show, but
we're not doing that. We're changing that out.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. So, but yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, feels like an honor. I know that there's some people on the grid that for whatever reason think that we're like, running a secret Formula One factory or something about how fast we are, but we just run a lot of road courses. That's why we're fast. That's it. There's no
just get good.
exactly. There's no secret behind it. I'm not like, sitting here 6 hours a night practicing Sebring to make sure I'm the fastest guy on the grid. I promise you that. So.
All right, man. 10-4. Congratulations on your first ever iSCAR win, bud. Before we let you go, any sponsors want to thank you for tonight?
Yeah, first off, before I start anything, I want to shout out Andy McDowell for running a 152 during the 12 hours of Sebring and having to tell me about it, even though he could only do one lap. That was pretty cool. Shout out to fucking BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. You guys already know the gist. I'm not going to go into it other than if you want a hard dick, get Blue Chews. All right. So another thing is shout out Pat for coming in and, being our boy and spotting for us and, calling out all the chaos. Shout out my boy Riley. Never played this game his entire life and somehow thought it was a good idea to watch this. That was pretty cool. So shout out Riley in the chat. Shout out Brody for showing me this league, and shout out the rest of the Blue Chew squad. We're about to gear up for this 24 hours of Le Mans, so it should be pretty exciting going into that shit.
All right, man. 10-4. Dan Nees rounds himself out top after starting in second place. Go ahead and see you around, bud.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good night, guys.
You too. What a lad.
Yeah, Dan Nees is definitely a character, but hey, he's a good driver and he won himself a race, so good for him. We're gonna drag in our GTE winner now, the 88 of Nick Miller. Got a copy, bud?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you and Austin and Jackson were really jostling around that lead in that second spot for most of the last 15 or so minutes of the race. How'd you end up on top of that whole mess?
I don't know. That was amazing, dude. That was the most exciting IMSA race I've ever done. A whole hour of me and Menchu and then Austin catching us. I just couldn't believe how it ended there.
Yeah, especially with this many cars out on the racetrack. Of course, your shorter pit stop with a 13.3 second pit stop versus Menchu's 18.7. I don't know how many gallons you took, but it was definitely a lot less than what Menchu took, and you found yourself in front of him. And after that, mistakes were made and such. The whole lead shuffled. Austin suddenly found in front. It was a whole mess for that final 15 minutes, but luckily, somehow you ended up top.
Yeah, what even happened with Menchu and Austin? Like, I saw Menchu drive it in deep, and I just see lights in my mirror just, circling around. So I knew something happened, but, there was so much choking going on, but then it was such good racing, trying to catch each other. And then here's Chase Elliott trying to go for the win, my driver. Let's go.
Yeah, man, it was definitely hectic. We'll go ahead and let you go early so you can go ahead and watch NASCAR and such. But before we let you go, any sponsor want to thank you for tonight?
SPG, of course. And actually, Christopher Wheel, he helped me out, got me the VRS setup for tonight. And once I figured out the line for that setup, it was the flyer for sure.
All right, man. 10-4, number 88, Nick Miller rounds himself out top after starting himself up top. Go ahead and see you around, bud.
Yep, thank you. See y'all.
Okay, Nick Miller on top. We'll go ahead and drag in the number 2. Not in the booth right now, so we'll go ahead and drag in somebody. We'll drag in Brody and came up and start in second place, but definitely a second place ain't bad. But the way you got second place was definitely disappointing. Brody, you got a copy?
Sure, dude.
All right, I know you're dead inside, but what happened there after the final corner?
Josh Patterson there lost all talent in his GT3 car running last, He just decided to go straight into the grass and spin right in front of me. I had nowhere to go. I got kind of lucky there. Damage wasn't horrible. Still got a black flag. Shout out to Nick Miller for clearing that. Car drove fine. It was just slow as a snail. So yeah, shout out to Patterson for wrecking the overall leader when you're last.
Brody Garner rounds himself out in second place after starting in first. Well, Brody, you had a strong car. How was your car out there before you died off the final corner?
Yeah, before I made some GT3 contact, I felt really good. I was way slower in practice than Dan, but about a couple minutes before the race, I found something. Something clicked, and I ended up setting a good qualifying time, and we had some back and forth battles. Yeah, man, it was a good race. Car felt amazing. Had a good setup.
Alright, man. Bird Gardner runs himself out in second after starting in first. Before I let you go, any sponsor want to thank you for tonight?
Dan, the owner of the team, Blue Chew, you know, like Dan said, you want a hard penis, you know, just pop a Blue Chew, chew it and do it.
Alright, man. 10 for Brody Gardner. Runs himself out in second place. Go ahead and see you around, bud.
Thanks.
Go ahead and drag in a second finisher in the 121 of Austin Osborne into the booth. He goes. Austin, you were sitting there in front of the number 88 there for a while, but of course that mistake into, I think it was turn number 3, spun you around. What happened there?
Yeah, unfortunately, I got the braking zone correct, but let it run a little too wide on exit. I had some damage to the car, so it was a bit inconsistent every other corner. But yeah, I mean, after the incident on the first turn, I mean, I got some snap oversteer, and it obviously wasn't on purpose to cause a crash, but it happened. Track's bumpy. I mean, I take responsibility for it, but wasn't on purpose. But yeah, leading the race, it was good. I had the team talking in my ear over fuel strategy, and just like Daytona, you know, they mapped it perfectly. I crossed the line with I think 0.5 or 0.3 left in the tank, so
Wow.
it was yeah, it was a great call. And I was honestly surprised. I saw it in 33 seconds behind when I went in the pit, and I knew that it only was a 31-second pit stop, and it put me back in the race. And then, surprisingly, with the damage I had, I still had the pace to at least compete. I don't know if I don't doubt I was the fastest car there at the end or in the middle stint, but at the end, yeah, it was definitely fun to chase him down and see what I had for him.
Yeah, definitely, man. For those final 15 minutes, the top 3 in GTE side were literally shuffling every lap. But unfortunately, you come up short here tonight. Besides that last that mistake into turn number 3, do you think you had the car to win it here tonight?
I would say without damage, 100%. I just think, I mean, I had the pace in practice, and I ended up having a bobble on my second lap in quali, and I actually drove back 7 tenths to get that P2 time. So yeah, I was confident with it. Setup was good. I think I had the car to win. Unfortunately, kind of my own 2 mistakes took me out of this one, and I mean, that's just what happens when you're new to these cars on these tracks. I've never run GTE cars on around Sebring, so yeah, I mean, you live and you learn. Unfortunately, yeah, my own mistakes took me out of this one.
And for Austin Osborne, going to round himself out second after starting himself, finishing spot. But before we let you go, any sponsor want to thank here for tonight?
As always, I'd like to thank Iron Rock Motorsports. You know, they were in my ear the whole time. It's because of them, I think, both races, Daytona and here, that I've come out better than I went in the pits. So, yeah, definitely them. And yeah, I mean, they're the main reason behind all this. So I appreciate them.
All right, and 10 for Austin Osborne rounds himself out second. We'll go ahead and see you coming around for the next race, bud.
I appreciate it.
Oops. Austin Osborne in the number 121. And yeah, I think that'll be all here for tonight. Everybody in the waiting room is sitting outside that top 3, except for a couple of those drivers and such. But Dewey, what you thought of tonight's race?
Definitely interesting. I think it was a bit less competitive than what we saw at Daytona and Monza, but I'm telling you, that GTE battle might have been the best battle for a class lead we've seen so far this season, despite an overall, I guess, drop in passes or whatnot. But I hope we can see more of that kind of racing wherever this series ends up going next week, as I think tonight, for the most part, lived up to the expectations I was looking forward to before tonight started. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here. And with that being said, my name is Icarus, and
And I'm Dewey Schramm. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Be sure to come back here tomorrow night as the Skip Barber series will make its way up to, I believe, Road America.
Right. It'll be a fun one as we get set there for, I think, 12 laps. But yeah, we'll go ahead and see you for tomorrow night.